Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Three in the Box podcast, powered by Power Soccer Shop. You're listening to the musical stylings of the greatest band in the world, Carly Cosgrove. I'm Bill, he's Josh, he's Alex, and this is Three in the Box. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Three in the Box podcast, powered by Power Soccer Shop. As always, I'm Bill Schultz, here with my buddies Josh Berger and Alex Johnson. How are we doing today, guys?
I'm doing great.
Doing great.
Doing super.
Good.
Alex, what's going on over there? You got some weird noise going on?
Yeah, it's raining pretty good, and the temperature is dropping fast. And it is snowing
Florida?
to the west of us in Florida currently.
Oh my gosh!
So, crazy times. Hasn't snowed here in Jacksonville in probably close to 30 years. So
Oh my goodness!
tonight might be the night. So.
Oh wow!
So yeah, if you hear lots of raindrops, I apologize to everybody out there, but
yeah, I'm sure the kids are looking forward to the snow.
yeah, absolutely.
Good, that's awesome.
You guys don't know what snow is, although you do, Alex.
Sure.
From
What's the temperature? What's the temperature in Wisconsin currently?
Yeah, well, I don't feel too bad for you because right now, let's see, we could just show our viewing audience.
What is it, like 1 degree over there?
Currently, where I reside, it is
Oh.
-2.
You're going the wrong way.
Feels like -13. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh!
I would take the rain and a few snowflakes, to be honest with you.
Well,
I don't miss
I'm
it.
not going to tell you what my temperature is because
Yeah, like Hollywood over here.
Wow.
That's fine.
gosh,
That's
it's the
fine.
worst. It's the worst. I mean, it's 57. 57.
That's
Is it?
good. That's not too bad.
Nice.
It's 57.
That's shorts weather in Wisconsin for sure.
I'm
Absolutely.
wearing
sure.
I'm wearing long sleeve.
Yeah.
I mean, you're smart, but like that's cold to you. That's cold to you and very recreational for me. So, well, guys, we got a lot to get to this episode. We are gonna, in just a minute, bring our buddy Peyton Sefick on to talk about champions and premier conference alignment. A little bit later, we're going to talk to Steve Everett, president of USPSA. But first, we got some news to deal with. Alex, you want to tell people the big news?
So yeah, I mean, you should have got the email by now. Everybody should see that this year's event is going to be a 4-day event for all conferences, which is exciting. And it's going to be June 19th to the 22nd in, drumroll, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Hey, let's go. Opa!
All right. Yeah. I don't think this should be a huge surprise to most people, but
It is a great facility. It's an awesome facility.
It is a great facility. I love Turnstone, and my favorite part of Turnstone is the upper deck for sure.
Yeah.
You can just see the gameplay play out in a way that allows you to really take in the full picture. So I like it. As we progress forward, I think they're going to look at announcing those dates a little bit sooner. So keep your eye out for that.
Yeah, and we're doing Championship Sunday now.
Yeah, and that's going to be awesome. So
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 4 championship games. All the fans are going to be in attendance. You know, we're not doing the staggered years anymore. So like the whole power soccer community is going to be there. So to me, that's going to be amazing for not only the athletes, but the families, you know, everybody involved. And it'll be good for the sport, I think.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be loud and ruckus, and it's just gonna make it that much more enjoyable for us as fans, and even for the people that are watching at home. And there is, somebody does know all about loud games, and I think we should invite Peyton in here. Peyton, hello, welcome to the podcast. Here, you know all about loud games, don't you?
Three in the Box. What's up? This is the loudest
Hey,
game in town.
welcome.
All right,
Thanks for
having
taking
me,
the time.
guys. Really looking forward to chatting it up with you guys. Got a sneak peek at some of your picks, so excited to talk it out. Got a few bones to pick with y'all.
I love it. Love it.
Okay.
It'll be fun. I'm
Okay. All right.
Thanks for putting this on.
Oh, well, thanks for coming on to the show.
Definitely.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, Peyton, and I'm excited to hear your perspective. Did you notice Josh copied my list?
Hey, I did my own
Did
list.
you guys have the same list?
Do we have identical lists?
Close.
In our Champions Cup, Josh and
Yeah.
I have 6 and 7 flipped, and that's it. But I just
really?
want the viewing public to know. I just want the viewing public to know that
Yeah.
I did mine first this time, and Josh was able to see me and Alex's rankings.
Hey! There was no bias here. It was all my own volition. I just happened to see who's on the list, so I know that I don't forget anybody.
Well,
I will say though, this is all speculation. The only time that really matters is when we're in the gym at nationals. That's when.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Absolutely. And just going along with that, for everybody out there watching, this is just for fun. We don't we just think this is how things play out at this current moment. Things are going to change over time. Teams are going to move up and down. And it is definitely nothing personal. And we've gotten some great feedback from the first conference alignment. I think people took it kind of how we thought they might, as in some people were like, yeah, that's awesome. Some people were like, really? That's what you think my team's going to be? Like, okay.
I definitely got some of those.
Yeah, and they're going to, and they're like,
fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, watch this, see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I'm the first person to say, hey, I hope some of you guys prove me wrong. So
yeah.
Well said. Well said.
For sure.
All right. Well, so starting at the bottom of Champions Cup, I've got Peyton's team. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
We got a
Bud!
couple of years left in the
Sick
season.
Bud!
Come on, man.
Oh, that's cold-blooded.
Well, now I'm interested to see how different mine is from the two of yours.
Did you not look? Did you not? No. You guys not look at them? Oh, sweet.
No.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm the document overlord, so I saw both of yours. But all right, well, let's get into it. Right? Let's get into it.
Yeah,
let's talk
absolutely.
Champions Cup. In the number 10 spot, I've got a team that I like a lot, actually. No disrespect. I've got Das's Cyclones in the 10 spot in Champions. This is a team that gave Wisconsin Warriors a ton of trouble back in my early days as a coach. This was a team that was really close to our level, and we used to play quite a bit. And a lot of respect for that program and what they're doing down there. I just think this conference is kind of nasty this year. And as far as everybody else, I've got Das's Cyclones in 10.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Bill and I, all of us were just talking off the air that we had actually a pretty hard time putting this list together. We thought it could be somewhat, quote unquote, easy, but this conference is just stacked from top to bottom.
I think of the 4 conferences, the one that took me the longest to rank and had the hardest time with was Champions.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I
would agree.
I concur.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that being said, I mean, I also put Das's Cyclones as the 10th spot.
Yeah, and I did the same, and the reason being is they got relegated last year. They got moved back up. But, I mean, of the teams that are still in the conference, they did finish in last compared to them, and therefore I find it really difficult to then put them back ahead of some of these teams. So that's why they fall into the 10th spot for me. Doesn't mean that I don't think they're a quality club, but again, like everybody's saying, this conference is stacked this year.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. Das is, they've been around the power soccer game for a long time. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have a couple of players that they didn't last year, at least one I know of, because of what happened with the other DASA team. So they'll have a season vet in there with Sarah Schwagel.
Nice.
Okay.
Got it. So, never count DASA out. They're always they've been around the game for a long, long time. But but you guys are across the board with that one. So
see, that's good to know, because like we talk about these. In fact, like I kind of grilled these guys on Champions and Premier last time because I feel like Josh and Alex know a little bit more than I do, being close to the board and stuff. There's still stuff we don't know. Like, I didn't know that DASA had added a player when I ranked these. So, like, to be fair, I mean, again, tough conference. I think I'd probably have them close to where they are. But, I mean, we're always learning about each other as we go in this game, right? And that's part of the fun of it too.
And sometimes, I mean, sometimes it only takes one player to affect change, and other times, you need the full squad. So, I mean, power soccer is a team sport, so you always need the full squad. But
for sure.
Cool.
All right, so the 9th spot, Bill.
I feel like I'm going to say this for every pick, but I struggled with this. I've got Shepherd Strikers in 9, and man, they impressed me last year. I watched a lot of their games. I saw what they did. They finished first in Presidents, obviously got promoted. I got them in 9th. If you told me they finished 5th or 6th, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they got a really solid squad. They looked amazing last year at Nationals. There's just so much competition in this group. That's where I got them.
Yeah, I have them in the 9th spot as well, because I really liked what I saw from them at President's Cup. Now, granted, I wasn't there this past National, but I watched almost all the Court 1 games at home, and I was really impressed with the Shepherd Strikers. So I'm looking forward to see what they could bring to the Champions Conference. See if they can. I mean, I can definitely see them being in the middle of the pack. But there's so many good teams in this conference, so it's hard to gauge where they should be.
HM2.
Really?
Turn your cell phones off in class, please.
That's right.
Really? See, kids, you gotta turn off your phone while you're at the movies.
That's right. My bad, everybody. So I like your guys' pick, but I have them a little bit higher, and I'll talk about them in a second when we get to that spot. In 9th, and no offense, because I got friends that are on this next team. I have this San Jose Steamrollers here. Now, reason again, this is a really tough decision. Honestly, if there's one conference that could go that could completely flip upside down on us, it's going to be the Champions Conference.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
I think the margin of error here in this conference is so razor thin that it could just come down to who has the hottest hand come June and who can go on a run. This almost feels playoff like what I hate to compare it to football, but Ohio State just ran through the college football playoff along with Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Who thought that was going to happen? Not everybody, some people, but same concept here. I think one of these teams could get hot, and it could be the 10th team, the 19th, the 8th, whatever. So, that's what I got.
Yeah. All you need to do is go on a hot streak, like a wild card team, and they win the Super Bowl. I think those were the Cardinals did that, or the Seahawks.
And then they quote our.
The more they look at these lists, the harder it gets for me. So
I
think I think with the Strikers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Taiwan might have switched programs to this thing.
So just found this out after I ranked this that he is not on Strikers now. So I don't know what's going on there.
I think he might be playing with these things. And Taiwan Britton, he's an incredible player. He's
been around forever.
He's definitely one of my favorite players to watch and play.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because he's got the whole package. He's competitive. He's got great sportsmanship. He's a hell of a defender. I mean, I'm not looking forward to playing against Taiwan this year. So, but I also love that because we both lay it all out there. So. I'm excited to go up against them. But if the Strikers did indeed lose Taiwan, then that's going to be a tough hill to climb for them for sure. He's a veteran, he's a leader, and he's incredibly skilled. So I definitely can see that. As far as the Steamrollers, they've been together for a long time. I think they all have been playing and they care about each other. So that can take you a long way in a tournament. But you guys are the experts here. I'm just joining having fun.
I don't know that we're actually.
Wait, aren't you the director of sports here?
Yeah.
You should know
I
that.
don't have Josh, that's why I don't have a list. I'm the director, so I can't pick. You know,
Yeah.
I'm here to support you guys.
Yeah. Support us.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, I got the San Jose Steamrollers much higher, so we'll get to that. But
Sure.
I do too, Josh.
I was under the impression that they lost some people, though, Josh.
I mean, not since like 2 years ago. No.
Okay. All right. Well.
Not that I recall. No.
This was a team I had a hard time ranking because I also have them higher on my list, but as I was moving these teams around, again, this was the hardest conference for me. As I'm moving these teams around, I mean, if I could see, I don't know what to do with this team. I don't know what to do with a lot of these teams because we've seen Steamrollers, do well in Premier. We've seen them not do so well in Premier. We've seen them do well in Champions. And now this year they come back down to a Champions Conference that is nothing like a Champions Conference I've ever seen. Yeah. So I just think it's going to be, again, I don't want to make excuses. This is how I think they're going to finish. But there's just a lot of variables here.
Oh, for sure.
And I would put this disclaimer out to somebody like San Jose or any, where we have different rankings. We're yet to re-rank this whole thing because the standings are just starting to roll in. We're getting to see some of those matchups head to head. There was a huge tournament recently out in Arizona that we'll touch on, but some of these programs played each other, and now you have some results to go off of. So when we revisit this in a couple months, there will be some movement. So
I agree with that. You mentioned the tournament out in Arizona. There's another one coming up in Virginia Beach in a couple of weeks where a lot of these Champions Club teams are going to be playing against each other head to head, like you said. And I definitely agree. It's early in the season. It's definitely fun to talk about this. And but what we mainly have to go on is last season. And a lot can happen in an off season, as we all know. So it's going to be really exciting I'm really excited to watch this back and then see what you guys come up with in another couple of months. And then we might even have to do a viewing party while we're at Nationals on Championship Sunday to see either how close or how off base we were.
I like the way you think. I like that. That'll be a bonus episode in May.
There you go. I'm down. Let me know.
Perfect.
I love that.
That's great.
Moving along.
Yeah, we're at the 7th spot now.
We're at the 8th spot.
Oh, 8th spot. Yeah.
I've got the NEP Wildcats in 8th. Again, a team I had a hard time placing. I don't have a lot to say about this team. I haven't seen a lot of this team. I mean, I watch all the games at Nationals on the front two courts, but I don't know a lot about this team. Just going by record and what I know.
Yeah. I believe I have the NEP Wildcats in the same spot. They got a good squad, and I just realized that they added Brendan White from, I believe, the Shepherd Strikers.
From Bay State Falcons.
Bay State Falcons. Thank you. Yeah, he's a heck of a player, so I think he could bring a lot to the NEP Wildcats. And then they got William Johnson, Lucas Courier, Spencer, and Ryan, and Adam, and so that's a good squad. So,
they've been around the block, that's for sure. I get to play against those players every couple of times a season. They've been together for a long time. We got a great coach with Mike there. And I think they can be streaky. Like Alex was saying earlier, if they catch fire at the right time, they could definitely do some damage. Sometimes it comes down to confidence for that team. They have a couple of new players. William Johnson was just invited to a national team camp in October, so we got some new experience going there. And like you said, Brendan White, he definitely has some potential. I'd like to see them all click together now. I want to see them come together as a full squad. And over the course of the season, hopefully we do see that.
Yeah, and I think in all these conferences, but as we get to this conference, I'm really interested to see how chemistry plays out. I really think chemistry is an important part of any program, and it depends on where you're at in your season, because you can be clicking in November, December, and then all of a sudden it's not working in January, February. So, like, who's going to be hot in June? That's a lot of this conference comes down to that for me. So, but yeah, in my ace spot, I have the Strap Scorpions. And this is no disrespect to them, but a little recap, and this is right before we found out that Taiwan's no longer on Shepherd, but Shepherd dominated the President's Cup last year. Absolutely dominated. Like, nobody could get around them. Nobody could stop them. They rolled right to the championship.
They go undefeated.
Yeah, they beat. Yeah, they did, and they beat Straps twice, head to head, in the tournament. So, if my thought process here was, as far as I can put Shepherd up, well, then Strap has to be below that, because they've beaten them head to head and recently head to head. So, Straps is a solid squad. You know, they got Jada, they got Jacob. Their chemistry is awesome, but I think they're still trying to gel some of that together, and I think they've done an awesome job getting to the champions. I just think this year, I mean, unfortunately, you're going to run into a buzzsaw this year. This conference is just it's really good. So
same thing with Straps. You know, with a couple of their young players being invited to national team camps over the past 6 months, that can go a long way for a team. But like you said, Champions Cup is a little heavier than it has been in the past. So I guess we'll see.
Very nice. Yeah, I'm a little surprised on this ranking for the Straps. I got a little higher on this one.
I like them personally. Like, I think they're a great program. I just it's tough.
It's tough.
So
I was surprised you ranked them here, Alex, just because I've heard you like sing their praises before.
I absolutely sing their praise.
Both when Jada was on the podcast and just privately, I've heard you say a lot of good things. It just speaks to the level of this conference, though.
Yeah, and I there's teams that have been in the champions on and off for a while, and I just couldn't see any room in there because, you know, Peyton's team's there, some of these other teams, and they've been in the champions for a while. So now Straps is moving up to the champions. It's a jump in level and a jump in experience, and I feel like sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get acclimated to that. And I think that's just what they're going to run into this year. Long term, they're going to have success. No doubt in my mind. I just think it'll take a little bit of time.
So just as a quick recap, guys, we got some feedback last episode. I just wanted to visually show these lists so far. So as we've done our 8th through 10 picks, Josh and I's lists are identical. NEP in 8th, Shepherd in 9th, Dessa Cyclones in 10th, and then Alex has Straps in 8th, Steamrollers in 9th, and Cyclones in 10th. What do you think so far, Peyton?
I mean, I think it's a bit of a toss-up, so it's pretty tough to do. But I think all of your arguments are pretty fitting, you know. But the tape speaks for itself. So I'm just excited. I just want to hit the court. You know, this is my conference, so I'm pretty pumped up for this one, especially. I'm just excited. All these teams have you know, there's a reason that they might not be in the Premier Cup quite yet, but they do have their strengths, and a lot of them have been together for a long time. So I'm going to keep reiterating what Alex said. You never know when a team's going to catch fire at the right time. So back when my team won way back 10 years ago in 2015, when we won the Premier Cup, we just caught fire at their first couple of games in pool play. We just felt like it was the right time for us, and we weren't going to back down. So if some of these, especially some of these younger teams that they're not really sure where their confidence is at quite yet, you can find that in little moments in games and then carry that throughout an entire tournament. So and it might be, you know, something that we're talking about now that people get fired up about and use to their advantage. So
right.
that's why I think this is so cool. I think like we all kind of said at the beginning, don't take it personally. This is power soccer,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see what happens.
Sweet. All right. Well, jumping right back in, guys. In the number 7 spot, I've got the Atlanta Sting. They've gone through some changes in terms of roster the last couple of years. They've got a great coaching staff down there. Truthfully, I just don't know what to make of a team that placed 10th in Premier last year. That's a killer conference up there, right? Like, to get knocked down from there doesn't necessarily mean you're not I just didn't know what to do with this team. So respectfully, Atlanta Sting, I don't know a lot about what you guys going on, but I got you in 7th.
I like it. And then for me, I have in 7th, Aspo Force. I just think that they're a very solid team. They came in 4th place this past Nationals in the Champions Conference. I got them ranking a little bit lower than they did last year, but again, it's just a very stacked very stacked conference. I'm looking at the roster here for the Aspo Force. They got Christian, they got Xander, and they got a bunch of names on this list. And you got Rebecca and Matthew, Trenton, Henry, all of us. Like, the list goes on. So it sounds like they got a pretty good roster here. So, and they can clearly practice 4-on-4, and that's a crucial thing for practice. Is have a full squad. We'll see. I'm very curious to see how the Aspo Force does this year.
That was one of those teams last year that caught fire at the right time.
Yes, they did.
They beat my team in the playoff. We were actually up on them going into the end of the game, and they just ripped up 2 goals just at the end of the game that just I did not see coming, honestly. And it worked to their advantage. But their two main players, Christian and Xander, really played great together that game. And so I didn't get to watch too much of them, but they were strong together. And Christian, he's been playing for a long, long time, and he was just all over the pitch. It was a fun game to play. It was kind of a heartbreaker, but yeah, that was a prime example of catching fire at the right time.
Yeah, so in my 7th spot, I have the Shepherd Strikers, and this was to include Taiwan, which I now find out that he's no longer there. But that being said, again, they were the best team in the President's Conference. So I see them all the time because we're in the Southeast. They are an extremely good set-piece team. And then they're anchored with that huge kick from Scott Stokes, one of the biggest kicks in the game. So they're always dangerous. He's always dangerous. They don't really fall out of place too often. So they're just a solid squad. And I thought that they would have to be the highest of the President's teams that moved up. So that's why I got them in the 7th spot.
Yeah, I think it's a valid spot. It's a valid argument for the Shepherd Strikers.
Jumping up, I've got Aspo Force in 6th. I can see them anywhere from 4 to 7. Honestly, like Peyton was talking about, they had a really good Nationals last year, which is why I moved them down a little bit. But have another good Nationals, guys, and you'll be lots of competition here. It really is. Whoever shows up and do the work this season and then show up and play 4 solid days, and that's what it's going to take to win this conference. So I got Aspo in 6 for me.
Nice. Okay, so then for the 6th spot for me, I have the Atlanta Sting. Like who said it? One of you said it, that they got a lot of roster change. But they got Beck, and who else did they have?
Jose.
Peyton, who's on that team? I know you played them, don't you?
on Sting?
Yeah.
I haven't played them this year. If they've had a couple of roster switches.
We play them all the time.
Alex
at Brooks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You
so,
did. Yeah.
I mean, you got Beck, you got Jose, Alejandro.
Jose, that's right. And Tangent.
And Tangent is in goal. And they're always solid, and they're very well coached.
Yeah.
They're one of the most organized teams in the South. Coach E always has them in the right position. So they're a tough squad to break through a lot of the time. So I got them a little bit higher on the list, but we'll get to that.
So who's your six?
So my 6 is the NEP Wildcats, and a big reason for that is they added Brendan White. He is a very solid player. He played for Bay State for many years, and then now they've tandemed up with NEP, and NEP already has some studs on their team already. So you add another piece, and now you're rocking and rolling. So I think that once they gel and figure out who goes where and does what, they're going to be a very tough out come nationals.
Yeah, that's how I feel too about them. Like playing them early in the season, I think there was definitely flashes of what they can bring to the table. But I want to see more consistency. I want to see more. I want to see a little bit more team cohesion with who's doing what, like you said. So it'll be fun to watch that team and see how they progress in the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right, so moving on to 5. We talked about this team a little bit already. I've got Straps in 5. It's funny because Alex called Josh out for hyping a team and ranking them low last episode. And I feel the same way about Alex in this episode. But I think this team, and we've talked about Jada, and is Jacob? Is that his name?
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Jada and Jacob. And for me, like watching them progress has been, I mean, like they're not just stagnantly like bouncing back and forth between conferences. Like they're getting better every year. And so it might be a little bit of a hot take to put them up in 5. But I could see them finishing as high as 3, as low as 7. But I think like I expect them to get better. They finished 2nd in Presidents last year. And I just think with the skill they got, if they keep improving, they could jump up ahead of some of these teams like an Aspo or a Shepherd. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also have them in the 5th spot too. I think they have such a really good squad and a great coach too, Coach Jennifer. But Jada and Jacob and the crew, they're a very solid team, and Jada brings such great leadership to that team and communication between Jacob and her as well. I think that's so valuable to have on a team like that, and I think I'm very curious to see how they do with this new conference, because I don't think they've been in a Champions Conference before, so I could see them holding their own in this conference.
For sure.
What do you think, Peyton?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think something that Bill said earlier, this is one of those teams that could fall anywhere in that mid zone. It would be great to see them make a deep run in the playoffs. And when they have, when you have 2 players like Jada and Jacob that are pretty skilled and have had a little bit more experience now that they've joined the national team for a training camp, you never know where that can take them. So that sounds great. And I'm excited to see them play. I haven't played against them yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
Very nice.
We lost Alex.
Well, we lost Alex, but I'll just go ahead and say his ranking. But he'll have to explain himself.
Well, no, I'll explain him for him because I'm looking at his list right now.
Will you now?
Will
you now?
This is perfect.
Why is that, Peyton?
Well, at number 5, Mr. Alex has CNY United. And,
it's any affiliation?
remember earlier when I said I got a bit of a bone to pick? There we go.
Oh, is it that bone?
Right
maybe
is
he
that
dipped
bone?
on purpose. Like maybe
yeah, I know, right? I think
he
it
knew this
started
was
raining
coming.
really hard.
What a great timing by Alex.
That's perfect.
Great timing. Great
It's the
timing.
snowstorm
Well,
in
until we wait for him to come back, I mean, how is everything going with your team?
Great. We finished in 5th last year for the Champions Cup.
Yeah.
And we had a pretty young squad, an inexperienced squad. Last year, I felt like I was kind of playing a bunch of different positions all at once.
Right.
And this year, we're starting to kind of find our own a little bit. We added another player. We had talked about earlier, Bay State Falcons kind of have since gone by the wayside. And luckily enough, Dana Parrott decided that she wanted to play with our team. So she's commuting, hours and hours one way. She's commuting about 4 hours just to come to practices. And that's just, that's a level of dedication that really pushes the team forward.
Much respect for that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible. That's truly incredible.
Yeah, she had reached out to me a couple of times about, different teams that she was interested in joining. One of the things that really stood out to me about her was she was trying to find a team, and she was having a hard time because rosters are full and teams are pretty serious in our neck of the woods, especially as the Northeast comes up a little bit. And she said, I just want to ball, dude. Like, I just want to get out there and hit the court and get better. And I was like, dang, that sounds awesome. I wish you could play for my team. And then, she reached out to me another week later and was like, how about I play for your team or for CNY United?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sounds great.
Don't have to ask me twice.
Yeah. So we have a fun dynamic on our team. Dana comes, she doesn't come to every single practice. That would be a little ridiculous, but it's cool because she shows up and we have to take it a little bit more serious because Dana's spent a lot of time and energy and money just to get to practice. So it kind of elevates the way we think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long, long time. I've been playing for over 20 years. So power soccer practice is, it's important and I take it seriously. But I also like to have fun because I have some kids on my team that that's our main motivation. CNY United has been a family for a long time. Faces have changed over the years, but we still try to hold on to that mentality. So we like to have fun as much as we like to play and win. So we have some practices that are a little bit more relaxed, and then Dana shows up and I put my game face on and everybody follows suit. So
it's kind of go time.
It's go time. Yeah, exactly. And that really helps us think about games, when we are going to a tournament, it's time to put that game face on and get a little bit more jacked up, a little bit more serious about everything.
Right.
Alex having CNY United at 5, that's just fuel for the fire, baby. I'm ready to go.
Well, Bill and I, we got you a little higher. So.
A little higher, probably not much.
A little higher.
Not enough. But.
Well, bro, cool your brakes here, okay? Come on.
Motivation. Motivation.
Oh man, little chip on the shoulder over here.
Oh yeah,
that's all right.
I will say, I was really sad when you guys had to drop out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So to see you guys back at nationals, these past nationals was great to see. So. So I'm really excited to see you guys back, kind of to where you belong. Hey, look who's back here, guys! Look who's back. We've been talking about your questionable ranking on a certain.
It's not questionable. That's how the man feels.
No, questionable to us.
Questionable to Peyton, certainly.
I want to hear Alex's case on the CNY United.
He was able to defend himself.
Yeah, by leaving the podcast for about 5 minutes.
I don't know what it is. It happens every single time. So I don't know.
But we've been rolling this whole time. So please,
But we're still on your 5th pick. We've covered it without you.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at right now?
We are on
your
your
fifth
fifth
pick.
pick. Yeah.
I'm defending myself.
My fifth pick.
I'm like a wild
presented.
animal backed into a corner right now.
Yeah, he stated his case
Okay,
while you were gone.
so I mean, I have no idea what you guys said, so I'm just gonna say what I say about seeing why
Well, let's hear
United.
what you said, and maybe it matches.
So here's my thought process with this seeing why United squad. Very solid squad, anchored by our friend Peyton here. And I think this team goes as far as Peyton and his teammates, but I think a lot of it revolves around how you're playing on any given day, right? Because if you catch fire, then the rest of them will catch fire. That's kind of how I see it. Last year's Nationals, you guys, so you finished first in your group, right?
Yeah,
but
we're going to beat the Ducks too.
Yeah, and then you lost to NEP or Aspo. Sorry, Aspo.
Yeah.
So
and we had the lead at the end of the game.
Yeah, and then you dropped into the consolation side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Because of that. So I didn't know necessarily what to make of it, but I can only go off of the standings and they ended up beating you guys straight up, so I have them a little bit higher than you. And that's the only reason. I mean, it looked like it was a close game. Wasn't it like 4-3 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought you guys were neck and neck, and when we get to my next pick, I'll touch a little more on it. But yeah. That's why I have you guys where you're at. No, no disrespect, but
none taken, not personally.
I think you guys are solid. I think you guys are solid, and you've been around the champions and Premier for a while, for like a long time, right? Most of you, I mean, as long as I've known you.
Our team has changed a lot over the past few years. We were borderline recreational there for a little bit. I mean, we didn't even go to nationals a couple of years ago. So I totally get it. I mean, we have some players that are very passionate and show up every practice ready to get better. And but what I was saying earlier before you joined back, the vibe of our team is a lot like a family. We really take care of each other and look out for each other. So obviously we want to win. But the fact that we're able to do that, some of our players are in positions where, power soccer is the main event of life, and just being able to be at tournaments with my teammates is really cool. So, I don't care where we fall, as long as they're trying their best, I'm cool with it. But obviously I won't win. So
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Something that we should all live by here.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's time for a quick recap. We're just going to throw up the 5 through 10 here. We've covered all this. Just wanted to show it for everybody so they know where we're at. And then we can head into our fourth pick. I have in the fourth spot, and I talked about this team earlier. I had a hard time placing them. I've got San Jose Steamrollers in fourth. A team that's kind of jumped back and forth between these two conferences. A lot of folks I like on that squad. If you told me they finished second or third, I wouldn't be crazy surprised. If you told me they finished 6th or 7th, I guess I wouldn't be that surprised either. But I see them with the edge over teams like Straps and Aspo, I guess, which is why I have them in 4.
Yeah, I also have them in the same ranking as well. They've been on this squad has been together for so long, pretty much my entire power soccer career, which is since 2015, and I played with some of these people. They got Matthew Orendorff, Callum King, Lucas, Chris Folia, Lola Grace, Sid Cardinala, Jackson Weaver. Hey Jackson, it's good to hear from you. But this is a really good squad. I mean, I said in the in the last episode or episode prior that Lola has improved, and so she's got a really mean kick, and so I'm very, very excited to see what's gonna happen. And I mean, I hope they prove me wrong because I'd like to see them back into the Premier because they've been there for many years. So, oh, Steamrollers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them play too. They're a little unassuming with their demeanor going into games, but like you said, they've definitely improved, and yeah, I'm excited to see them play. I'm excited to play against them, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. My 4th spot, I got Aspel Force. I don't know what it is, but they, in the last couple of years, so I see them a lot from the Presidents. I don't know what happened a couple of years ago. They flipped the switch, and all of a sudden they've gone on a run for the last couple of years that is very impressive and probably very underrated because we do get caught up with a lot of these other teams. But they've had quite the impressive run themselves. So I don't know exactly what switch got flipped, but something did, and something's going right over there. And they're gritty, and they find a way to win. And when you can do that, I think you can finish in the upper half of your conference. Again, if I went to game results, I know you don't want me to keep bringing it up, but they beat CNY straight up.
Who?
And, yeah, I know. So they were on the right side. Well, they were on the right side of the bracket, heading towards playing for a championship. They lost the last couple games, but I don't know. They're just scrappy. So
I think Josh touched on it earlier, actually, when he brought them up. It's that deep roster that they have. You go from having 5 players on a team, and at the end of practice, you do a scrimmage and it's 3v2, right?
Right.
You have 8 players on a bench, and at the end of practice, you're switching it up and you have 4v4, and you've got a full squad going against a full squad. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. In any
valuable.
sport. So,
I've had that luxury with our squad because our squad is huge too.
It's huge. It's huge. I've been there a couple of times throughout my career, and the difference is incredible. I mean, you can still bring intensity when it's 2v2 or 3v2 or whatever it might be. But when you have that 4v4 and you can actually simulate some 2-on-1 stuff to really work out spacing before you get to a tournament, it's really helpful. And I think that they've used that to their advantage. And they have some ball handlers on that team that get it. They can ball. So So I don't disagree with you there. I think they're a good squad that could definitely make a run like they did last year.
I think it's great.
All right, so we move on to 3. I'm gonna fast forward us here a little bit. Josh and I both have CNY United at 3. We've talked quite a bit about this team. I see them, they've added pieces. They certainly haven't lost anything. So for me, I got them up in 3 because I can see you guys improving quite a bit this year. Yeah, so that's why I got you at 3.
Yeah, what Bill pretty much said and what we had talked about while Alex had stepped out for a few moments, you guys added some pieces, and so I had ranked you with that in mind, and I'm like, this team could go really far into the playoffs. So yeah.
Just real quick to speak about it again. We have a goal. We had a goal at the beginning of the season, and it was to get into the Premier Cup. I've heard Alex say in the past that the only way he wants to move up is to win a championship to move up. So I'm very similar to that. But if my team lays out a goal, that's what we're aiming for. We want to move up. So a 3rd place finish would be huge for our team. Obviously, I want to win.
Yeah. And also, I think your guys' pick is a great pick there in the 3rd spot. I can totally see CNY finishing in 3rd. And so my 3rd pick, I got the Atlanta Sting. Probably helps my case now that Taiwan's on there. So when we re-rank, it might look a little bit different for all of us. But Atlanta's solid. And in the Southeast, they're the 2nd best team right now. Last few years, they were the best team. Now Zach goes to Auburn, Kyle goes to Auburn. So that's
true. Yeah.
The tandem that he has this year compared to the previous years, now he has Kyle in the mix, and that helps out tremendously. I think so. For the Sting, they got Jose, they have Beck, they have Alejandro and Tangent, and they're very well coached. They are always in the right spot. Coach E is always making adjustments in game, and the players are following along with those adjustments. I understand that they finished last in Premier, but coming down to champions, they're a very solid squad, and I could see them getting right in there in the mix and moving themselves back up to the Premier League. So,
makes sense to me. Well, guys, the next two are easy. Easy for us to discuss because we all have the same team at 2 and we all have the same team at 1. We're talking about Glass Chicago Fire and the Auburn Tigers. We've all got Auburn in 2 and Fire in 1. What do we think?
Well, I want to hear Peyton start first before we state our case.
I think the tournament last year, where Zach and I were both in champions, pre-tournament, during tournament, Auburn didn't have as good of a pool play as United did, but we were still, all right, well, we'll see you in the final. Like, Zach and I are pretty tight, so we're talking throughout, jawing at each other. We'll see you in the final. We'll see you in the final. And then we're playing for the 5th and 6th game. We're like, what is going on? How did this happen? So I think he's got a bit of a fire under himself. He's got something to prove for himself this go around. Like you said, Kyle joined that team. So we're going to see. I think both of us, Zach and I, both had a lot to do last season, and with some changes we've made on our roster, we both can focus more on playing more of a position instead of an entire team.
Yes.
So that's going to go a long way for Auburn. Chicago Fire, they've been playing together forever. That's one of those perennials every year. They're kind of floating between Premier and Champions, and they usually take the Cup in Champions, and do some damage in Premier, but then fall back down after a year or two. So I'm not exactly sure where they're at. I haven't gotten to see that play against them in a while, but they definitely have competitors on their team.
Well, and I'll be the homer that talks about Glass a year because my team, the Wisconsin Warriors, when we disbanded, what was that, 2 seasons ago now? 1 season ago, technically.
Yeah.
Kenzie and Tyler joined that Chicago Fire squad. So watching them play together this year, they were pretty dangerous. I expect another year under their belts together, right? We were talking about chemistry earlier. And with those players having another year to work together, right? And learn from each other and learn how people play and where their teammates are on the court and when they're going to do what, like for me, like you said, Peyton, like Fire's won this conference before. I see no reason why they shouldn't win it this year. And I'm the same with Auburn too. Like, I think your point, Peyton, was spot on. Zach no longer, I shouldn't say no longer, but Zach had to carry a big load, a big piece of this team last year. He's added some pieces, so now he can focus on some things, much like you on CNY. I just think there's a lot of potential for these two teams, and another year together, I see them both 1-2.
Yeah, and I honestly, last year I was surprised that Auburn wasn't in the upper part of that of the Champions Conference because they had a solid season. And then, we all know how good Zach is. So, I mean, he rolls around the South and he just dominates everybody. And it's just like, you try your hardest and he makes everybody better, which is good. But at the same time, he's still out there dominating. So I was a little surprised with their finish previous year, but I think like you were saying, Peyton, that's probably going to fuel his fire and push him to try and bring his team out on top. I think the fire, as Bill was saying, with adding those pieces that came out of Wisconsin, they're a solid group. They were already a solid group, but now they're even more solid group. So I give the edge to them a little bit, but I mean, that could go either way. Honestly, after listening to everything that everybody's saying, I could see us in a couple months re-ranking this whole thing completely different. So,
for sure.
It's just
that's the beauty of it, though.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah. So,
yeah. I mean, like Bill said, we have them all in the same two spot. I give the edge to Fire because of Kenzie and Tyler and David Rodriguez, Jerry, and all those people. So
Anthony
Mercado, yeah, exactly. And so I think it's just a really good squad, and they've been in a premiere before, and so and Auburn, like everybody said, Auburn is on the rise because Zach he can relax a little bit more and play his game, and I think it's just gonna be really. And you got Kyle Eggleston is now on that squad, and that's just gonna be really awesome to watch Zach and Kyle play together again. So yeah, like Alex said, I was surprised that they finished where they finished, but because they were a new squad and they got a couple of new college players on that team, now it's just gonna be like, okay, it's go time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's show these. We'll show our 1 through 10 real quick. These are how we have them ranked. Again, you finish high, prove us, or if we've got you picked high, prove us right. And if we got you picked low, by all means, show us, please, how wrong we were. We will be very excited to see some teams in the bottom of our list finish strong. So with that, that's our Champions Cup power rankings. All right, so we're going to head into Premier Conference now. And for time's sake, guys, we got to cover a little more ground a little quicker here for this one. But hopefully we can do that. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. At 10, I've got the team that finished third in Champions Conference last year, got promoted. I've got the Boston Breakers in 10.
I also have the Boston Breakers at 10.
And I have LAFC. So you guys want to talk about Boston for a second?
Yeah, I mean, they're just a very solid team. They've been in the Champions Conference for quite a while, and then they finally got to get promoted. So I'm excited for them. It's a good opportunity to showcase what they got.
Another team that's been together for a long, long time, and made a great run last season. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see them a little higher up. But you never know. It's a really hard cup, just like Champions.
Yeah. And I chose LAFC. They moved up. They've been on a great run as well. Another one of those teams that's been on a great run. Unfortunately, with the passing of their player, AJ, I think that impacts them a little bit. And that's kind of why I have them at that spot. I think, and they're in the Premier League. So, I mean, you're talking about the 10 best teams in power soccer. So,
yeah,
and Josh and I both have LAFC at 9. Of course, we're thinking about you guys and AJ for sure. Losing a player, regardless of how, is a tough thing for a team. But again, this is a killer conference. This is a stone cold conference with some absolute giants in the sport. So we've all got LAFC down in the 9 or 10. And then Alex, if you want to talk about your 9.
Yeah, I got New England FC. I put them there. They have a back and forth with Boston. It looks like Boston edged them out like three. I think they played 3 times the previous year. So I gave Boston the edge, and that's why I have New England where I have them.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with that. yeah, shout out to LA. They're one of my favorite squads. Yeah, I mean they're just incredible group, very well coached, and again, what we were talking about with CNY United, they got that family vibe.
Yes.
And yeah, a lot of love to them and everybody in the Power Soccer community. It's just one of those things about our sport that makes us so much closer together, both as competitors but teammates, and it's just it's a really tough time, but a lot of love to y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right,
And
so
then,
number 8.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to read yours, Josh?
Yeah, I got New England FC at number 8. Which is they just got good chemistry, and I really like the Geppetto Bros, and they're a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
Yeah, I got Boston Breakers there. Again, they edged out New England in their head-to-heads. It's a very tough conference, and I mean, if you're top 8 in the nation, you're doing something right. So,
yeah,
for sure. And then in 8, I've got the Golden State Ducks. Shout out to the Ducks for having the second coolest logo in Power Soccer. By the way,
yeah. I was saying, wait, who's the first?
Second to who? Yeah,
who's the first? Is it the Gopher, Whitetail, CNY?
I mean,
Bucks?
I'm a little partial to mine, but most people haven't seen it. I did hide it in the credits for the last episode.
Yeah, it's a little Easter egg. A little
couple
Easter egg
people
there.
Noticed it.
Yeah.
A couple people noticed it. Kevin Larson from Northern Lights noticed it. He messaged me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to ours, but no, I mean, the Ducks have like the coolest logo.
Oh, it's so cool. I love it. I have one of the stickers, and I got the banner too. So
that's sick. That's very
dope.
Cool. Yep. But I've got them in 8th. I mean, they won champions last year. I didn't see a lot of them. I wasn't physically at Nationals last year. I watched all the games, of course, that were recorded. But it's a little tough. I mean, if you told me they finished anywhere between 5 and 8, I wouldn't be surprised. But with some of the other tough competition here, I got them in 8th.
Yeah, that's feasible. I mean, Alex and I have them in the 7th spot. And they're just a really good squad. I mean, you got Stanley Korn, you got Bart Stewicki, you got Matt, you got trying to think of other names that I can't think of right now. But that being said, very solid squad, and they play kind of like an international style of passing. Being in reverse. So I'm excited. I'm excited to watch them play.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think that's my surprise pick of the year is Golden State. The way they play, and they're like Josh said, they kind of they gel together pretty well. And they also play 4-up, which is a different look than a lot of players or a lot of teams have.
Yeah.
Which can be dangerous to play against and to play with. So.
I'm really interested, Peyton, to see how that plays in Premier.
I'm very interested as well, and they may surprise some people, honestly.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of teams that play the 4-up in the Premier level, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see what they can do with that, and honestly, I hope they do well because I like their squad and the risk of going 4-up. I hope it pays off for them. I think.
Do you think there's a chance that they change it up? Do you think there's a chance that they? I'm just thinking about the speed of the other teams because I've coached in 3 conferences now. I've never been. I've not made it to Premier yet, but I've coached in Founders. My team went up. I started with them in Founders. We went up to Presidents. We went up to Champions. Spent 2 years in Champions. So I've had the experience of like learning what's different about those different levels, and like we were doing some stuff down in Premier Cup that was really messing with a lot of not Premier. We were doing a lot of things like in Founders Cup that were really messing with people, right? My first year, like nobody knew what the heck the Warriors were doing. But we finished 2nd and we got promoted. Same thing in Presidents. We did some cool stuff. We were lucky enough to get promoted. Actually, I think we were 3rd in Founders and 2nd in Presidents. But then you get up to a team like or a conference like Champions. Some of the like riskier stuff that I was doing didn't work up there. And
it worked for the Ducks last season. I mean, they cruised through. They lost 1 game. It was to us in pool play.
And that's awesome. And I just want to see them. Like, I hope I'm with you, Peyton. I hope they use it. I'm just really interested to see how other teams respond to it. And does the speed of Premier Conference change their willingness to push forward as much as they do?
I think they need to match the speed with their style of play. I don't think if they switch up their style of play, I think they're going to struggle. I think that's when they fall in where you guys have the kind of lower side of the Premier. If they can't adapt to the speed, but if they can take it up a notch, build from where they were at last year, I think they're going to do pretty well. If you go back and watch that championship game they had for the Champions Cup, they were on fire. So I would like to see that out of them moving forward.
Yeah, I would say you go in there, take your lumps if you have to, so you can visually see your style against the other teams, and then adjust going into the off season.
Yeah.
Hey, quack, quack, right? Quack, quack.
Ducks fly together. For 7, just to keep things moving along, I have NEFC up here. I think I have them ranked the highest out of all of us. I could see them. Those guys, again, Peyton talked a lot about earlier, teams that have been together a long time. Obviously, I'm sorry, guys, I always say your last name wrong. Chipetta. Those guys have been playing together forever. Tough squad, no matter what or where or when. I got them a little bit higher at 7.
Yeah, I like to see them move up. They're always kind of hanging in that middle crowd at the Premier, so I like to see them move up a couple of spots.
For sure. Moving right along in the 6th spot, I've got a team I'm very familiar with, the Minnesota Northern Lights. Saw them a lot when I coached the Warriors. A lot of skill with Grant and Lene here. This team impressed me in the Premier Cup since they've moved up. I mean, I really struggled with this team as a coach. Trying to beat them defensively in their own zone is a tough thing to do. And what impressed me, talk about teams that play in a certain style and then move up, is how well their style translated to Premier Conference. And some of these really like high-powered teams just couldn't score that many goals against Lights. So I've got them in 6, which is a little bit lower than they finished last year. But if they finished 4th again, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they're just very stout defensively.
Right. I also have them in a 6th spot too, but like you said, I can see them being higher than that. It's just because the Premier Conference is so stacked. But the Northern Lights, they're a tough team to beat. I've had the honor and privilege of playing against them a couple of times, and gosh, playing against the Larson siblings, I really hate playing against them. They're so good. They're so good.
They're tough.
Well, we're starting to get into that, that Premier Cup, like players that have been together for a long time, have a lot of chemistry together.
Yes.
That kind of sets a lot of these teams apart from some of the teams we were talking about down in the Champions Cup, or even lower level Premier Cup. These players that not only have chemistry together because they've been playing together for a while, but they've also had the experience of playing the other best teams in the U.S. Year in and year out, just like really grinding. So I think it's kind of at this point, these mid-table teams can kind of fall in different spots, depending on how the tournament goes.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we said in the last episode with Minnesota United. Like they're getting better and better because they play against a gauntlet of teams in that Midwest section of the country, playing against the Shockwaves and RHI and all those teams. So yeah, it's so important to play against really highly competitive teams in your region.
For sure. Absolutely. In my 6th spot, I have the LA Galaxy.
I like it.
A great squad. I mean, falling in the 6th again. If you're in the top 10 in the nation, you're doing awesome. So keep doing what you're doing. But I mean, when you get into the final 6, I mean, we're talking about some really good squads. So I got them at 6. I think that's they're somewhere in that middle area. They could go up a little bit. Maybe they could go down. I don't know, but it's all going to play out in June. So
yeah, they added Ben Anko to that squad. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to gel together. Because I think they could do some improvement.
And I'm definitely curious to see some of these results from some of these tournaments, so we can actually see some head-to-head competition where everybody fell in line. So I think that'll go a long way. When we get to May, we do this thing all over again. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, Josh, you want to do your 5?
My fifth spot? Yeah, I have the LA Galaxy in the fifth spot. I have the privilege of playing against them every year. Not a fun experience because of very good team. Steve, you got Ulis, you got Cosmo, you got Connolly now there. He's been there for 2 years, and so they're a fast motion style team, and yeah, I could see them moving up in this. I mean, yeah, I got them in the fifth spot, but I can see them moving in a fourth or third.
sure. At 5, I have the San Jose Flash. A great young squad. Another team that's been playing for a long time, as Peyton has referenced. And on top of it, they have really good chemistry. As far as I can tell, they treat it like a family atmosphere. So, I mean, you got checking the box, checking the box, checking the box. So they're only going to get better over time. I think last year, adding that experience of being in the Premier League is only going to help them. And I got them at 5 this year because, you know, the teams in front of them just happen to have more experience, right? And more, whether it's in the domestic league, internationally, but they're going to get there. They're definitely, I think they're going to climb the mountain at some point. Which year it's going to be, not sure, but they're on their way up.
Yeah, I've got. Sorry, go ahead, Peyton. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree with both. Like, you guys are, I think, spot on with Galaxy and Flash. You know, they're both kind of on the come up. Flasher, a little bit younger of a squad, but LA almost feels a little bit more professional with maybe the age range or just the way that they carry themselves when they're out on the pitch. So I think you guys are spot on. And, you know, I'm glad I didn't submit picks because this is a serious prospect.
This is the worst part of this job, Peyton, doing this podcast.
Thanks for inviting me to the party. I'm glad I don't have to.
Right.
Yeah, for our viewers and listeners at home, both Peyton and Grant Shipley, who was on last week talking about presidents and founders, both Peyton and Grant, we gave them the option to do their own list, and both were like,
thanks for the option.
So that being said, if you have any complaints or anything, please send them to Grant Shipley or over to our friend Peyton here.
Yeah. If you do have complaints, meet me on the court.
Oh, okay. Okay, you heard it here first, folks.
So my 5 and my 4, we'll just go around the wheel here.
Yeah.
I got San Jose Flash in 5. This is a team that gives me nightmares, literally.
Yep.
This is a team that has beat my team when it counted, not once but twice. All kinds of history here we don't even have time to scratch the surface of. But, you know, to all of your previous points, I mean, Peyton mentioned how young this group is. I continue to be amazed by this squad and by Michael Rayton, especially. You know, when I came into my job as a coach, whether it was founders my first year or presidents my second, you know, Michael Rayton, that kid was just, you know, scoring goals on us left and right. In fact, if you go to USPSA website to this day, their little flash animation at the top is just a whole bunch of like San Jose Flash scoring against Wisconsin Warriors. Like,
Where they break the Red Sea and that goal.
It's like half the. And there's a pretty
nice.
How
many times have you watched that?
Yeah, right. He doesn't go to the website anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't go to the website because of that moment.
Yeah. It's literally like 50% Flash scoring on Warriors, and then like 10% Alex's face. There's like a pretty good like close up of Alex coaching and that.
Yeah. You got a good mugshot. Good mugshot.
Yeah.
But this is a team that. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No. I was just whatever that moment is that it flashes me. I'm sure I'm just like, cool, calm, and collected, talking to the team. Yeah.
I think you're in a huddle. Yeah, I think you're like.
Yeah, you're in a huddle.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good shot. It's a good shot.
I will say for the Flash, they've they, like you said, Michael Radin and a few other players, Alejandro, they've gotten the experience of being around the national team as well. And I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but that really can pick a team up because you start to see tips and tricks from the other top players and you bring that back to your club team. And you start to emulate that a little bit slowly but surely. And it can go a long way. And we're going to be talking about a few other teams at the top of this roster that have been up there for a long time.
Yes.
And, a lot of people are like, when are these teams going to be dethroned? And maybe it's the Flash that are coming up slowly but surely. And I think some of the top teams need to be looking in their rear views pretty soon.
Yeah, I would totally agree with your assessment on that. I mean, these top 3, top 4 should be shaking in their boots because of the San Jose Flash.
Oh,
that's
man.
kind of where I was
Did you just fuel the fire? Those top 4 teams. Those top 4 teams, after hearing your comment just now, are like, yeah, right.
Yeah,
let's
right.
go.
Let's
hey, you know what?
Yeah, right.
Give it to me, okay? I'm man enough to say, I was wrong. But in the meantime,
they're gonna purposely come out to the Chico tournament and just stomp you out.
We're not gonna invite them, okay?
Can't lose if you don't play, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm just gonna take my ball and go home so nobody else can play with it.
Wow. So where I was headed with that was just that, like, Flash, gives me nightmares as a coach down in the lower levels. To see that game, to see them continue to improve and their game translate at the highest conference is something to keep an eye on. And yes, Alejandro, Mike, these guys are going to keep getting better. And they are going to challenge. I mean, they're what, like high school and middle school? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
they're going to be around doing this together forever.
High school and college.
There's so much these guys have. And 2 good friends of mine on the bench, Chris Faria and Sammy. I've enjoyed
doing an amazing job out there.
They know what they're doing.
I don't think we talk about them enough. Like as much credit as we give the players out there, they're doing a phenomenal coaching job. Like the way that they just breezed through all 4 conferences and now they're in the top half of the best conference. I mean, I don't know if we talk about that enough, but credit to the coaching staff there too. Yes.
Yeah, they're a dedicated group. And they film all their games. And, when I took the year off this past season, Sammy was sending me film because he knew I was missing soccer. But to watch it, it's really fun. And then Guru on that team, he's a heck of a player too. I mean, I think he's kind of an unspoken hero on that team because he's a really good backdoor specialist. So, yeah. I love that squad. Love watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an
underappreciated
role. Like that, like weak side forward is what, I always call it on the court. Like they got a squad and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just to keep things moving along. You guys have talked about this team. Maybe my pick out of this bunch outside the top 3 is LA Galaxy. I've got them in 4th. I think Ben Anko is a really underrated player. And I think with the already solid squad, I mean, look, this LA Galaxy team, and I'm doing this off the dome, so don't quote me on this, but they were second in their pool against second to only Shockwave, if I'm not mistaken. They then ran, so they were second in their pool in Premier last year. They then ran into a team we talked about, the Minnesota Northern Lights, and they lost 1-0 to Lights, who we've talked about being a pretty crazy solid defensive team. So Galaxy got knocked down again. This is off the dome, but I think this is correct. They ended up down in the consolation bracket, first round, quarterfinals, and then whatever happens from there. But I could see this team, finishing a pool 1 or 2 and making a deep run into this conference. Top 3 in this conference are top 3, but I've got Galaxy picked to be 4, just because I think when you add a piece to that squad, make them better. They're pretty good.
Yeah. I just looked at it for you, and you are correct with the pool play. Only finishing behind the Shockwave. They went to the bracket. They lost to the Northern Lights, and then lost 1-0 to New England, and then beat the Steamrollers 3-2.
Got it.
Yeah, they had a solid run. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So
you guys is 4. Both of you got your 4, yeah.
4. Yeah, I got Minnesota Northern Lights here. They finished 4th last year. And let me fact check myself. I think they only lost the 3rd place game. Yeah, 1-0 to Sudden Impact. Which, I mean, you're playing
That's
Sudden
incredible.
Impact. 1-0.
1-0.
I mean, you're doing something. Yeah, 1-0.
But
Third
that's
place
it.
game.
That's their MO.
It was something that meant something.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah.
That's their MO. Like, they win
Yeah.
1-0 games. They win
Keep it
2-1
tight.
games. Like, that
Keep
is
it tight.
I could see them. They lost this 1-0, but I can see them getting back to the 3rd place game and competing for that again. I see them right there at 4th. So
yeah,
that's what I got. Solid squad.
I like it. All right, so top 3.
No, you got your 4, Josh. You got to talk about
What?
your
I already mentioned.
Yeah, I got too excited.
I did get so excited. I did. San Jose Flash, my old crew, loved them to death. They finished 5th last Nationals, and like Bill had mentioned, now that they've been in the Premier for 1 year, they know what to expect, and so I expect them to improve on from last year. So they're a good squad, and Peyton said, those two Hanjo and Michael, they went to the U.S. training camp and they learned some stuff and brought it home with them, and I'm sure the whole squad is going to get better because of it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised to see anybody that you didn't mention in that 4, 5, 6 spot. Like I said earlier, maybe the Ducks, if the 4-up does click for them at this level, it's going to be tough. But I think maybe they can crack into that group. But I'm right there with you guys. It's a pretty good shot for that 4, 5, 6, pretty much between you.
All right. Now, Josh.
Okay, now it's the top 3.
Here we go.
Let's go.
All right. So, we'll throw these up on the screen so people can see our picks so far. And then we've all got the same 3 teams up here.
Yes.
We've all got them a little different. The way I've got it, and I'm just going to read these, and then we can talk about these 3 teams. Fair enough?
Yeah.
So at the 3 spot, I've got RHI Sudden Impact. Alex and Josh have Turnstone Flyers. In the 2 spot, I have the Turnstone Flyers. Alex and Josh have Sudden Impact. And at the number 1 spot for the 17th year in a row or something?
24th
year in a row.
Got it.
We've all got
Minnesota Shockwaves.
That's why we brought Peyton in.
Yeah. We wanted to hear your insights on this.
On the top 3? I mean,
on the top, really on the top spot.
Top spot. Well, yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue the dynasty of the Shockwave. I think that there are flashes out there that can knock them off on not their best day.
Yeah.
But if they're showing up and showing out like they have every year for the past 5 years or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's gonna be take a monumental feat of strength to knock them off.
Oh, for sure.
The only thing is when you win that much, the pressure mounts every time. Winning is addictive, but it also mounts. So
and I wonder, sometimes I wonder, are they still hungry? As best as I can tell, they are.
Yeah.
But you start to wonder, once you start to get fat and happy, do you start kind of fall off a little bit?
These 3 teams have some of my favorite players. Go ahead.
No, just absolutely. I'm just saying, if this was their first year of winning Premier, nothing's stopping them. But now you're rolling into the 5th championship, the 6th championship, the 7th championship, whatever.
Yeah.
Are you still as hungry? That would be my only question. I feel like if a team's going to knock them off, it's because they're not playing at their absolute best.
Right.
I don't see any signs of them dropping off, so that's why they're at number 1 for me.
So I was saying just before you said that these players have these teams have some of my favorite players to watch, to play with, to play against. I mean, this is the creme de la creme when it comes to U.S. power soccer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to be devil's advocate for your point, wondering whether they're still hungry or not. The Shockwave, they have, how many players that play on the national team, right? They have the head coach for the national team coaching them. And I know that they're still hungry because this is a competition year. We have Copa coming up in the fall. So the best way to stay humble and hungry for that is to go out there and absolutely put out your best product leading up to the Copa. And that's what I expect. That's what we all expect. I mean, all three of you across the board, Shockwave, and I bet you put it there without even thinking. And I will say, I'm sure they're going to be hungry because it's Copa. But guess who else? Guess who else is hungry? David Dowling. He's been knocking on the door for how long? The Flyers are ready to go. And then Impact are perennials. You have a little guy named Michael Archer. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I think we have. We might have brought him
up. He had a great interview with Riley on Collision. Shout out to Collision Magazine. It was so much fun. And really glad. I mean, Michael, great dude. So glad he's back. He gave so much to the sport. So really excited to have him back. But it is a toss-up between those three. I mean, I think Shockwave will take it, but it's going to be who's challenging them in the final game. It's tight. I wouldn't be surprised. David is an unbelievable player, and he's only getting better. I think he's really starting to come into his own. Honestly, he was a little bit of a late bloomer, and that can be really dangerous for a player. I think he's starting to find. He's always had the skill, but he's really starting to find his confidence now, as like him being a centerpiece for his team and what that means. Not just like being really technically skilled, but also being a leader and firing up the home crowd. I mean, Turnstone is the home crowd for them. I mean, that's huge. That I remember playing them in a game and we were winning like 2 or 3-0 at halftime. And then all of a sudden the stands filled up with Turnstone people and they flipped the script on us and scored like 4 goals in one half.
Wow.
But that's a real thing that can happen. And Impact, I mentioned Michael Archer, incredible person, incredible player. But that team is led by Jordan Dickey and Lexi Haber. Two favorite tandem to ever, like, I will watch Power Soccer the rest of my life. Watching Jordan and Lexi, like, use telekinesis to play with each other is unbelievable. I mean, when I play, I am, like, communicating with all my teammates at once, telling, where are you? Like, be here, blah, blah, blah. Like, Jordan and Lexi, I think maybe say a couple of words together, and it's usually at halftime, and it's probably not even about the game. They just know what each other are thinking, and it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, and I think with them, I just want to make this point based on what Peyton had said, because we talked in the last episode about the Turnstone tournament, which was back in December now, but we talked about that tournament and a lot of my ranking here, I've got them Minnesota in first, Turnstone in second, RHI Sudden Impact in third. A lot of that is based off the Turnstone versus RHI games that were in Turnstone a month ago. I think the longer that Sudden Impact team plays together, right? And you got Jordan Lexi with their telekinesis. You now add Michael Archer, maybe the best to ever do it. You add, and now once they've had a season to play together, what do they look like come June?
Right.
It may be when we talk about this in May, it might be that Impact won every game since now, and then we're having a different conversation.
Yeah, it's a question of do Michael Archer and everybody else, do they click together at the right time just before Nationals? And I mean, if anybody's going to knock off the Shockwaves, I think it's going to be RHI Sudden Impact. But that's only if they gel together at the right time.
He just
But
put all
hey,
the pressure on him.
this is the hot take. Okay.
I think there's a lot of pressure on these two teams regardless.
So,
I don't think we're saying anything anybody
no,
doesn't know.
Let me ask you this, Peyton. Do you think the ideal scenario then would be to have Turnstone and RHI play in a semifinal to see who plays Shockwave? Because what a matchup that would be, right?
I mean, that would be ideal. That would be so much fun to watch. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm hoping for, definitely.
Yep.
And to just kind of reiterate what Bill was saying, like Michael is like the USPSA GOAT. Like it's kind of undeniable. I mean, Shockwave's definitely giving them a run for their money. They got to do it a couple more times, and then that conversation changes. But to see those teams face off against each other at any point, I mean, obviously in a knockout game would be something special. And I hope I get to be on the call, or at least I'm definitely gonna be watching. But yeah.
You know that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. There's one more factor that we haven't even discussed. Is this year is Championship Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the entire court is going to be filled.
Oh yeah.
With spectators.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be suspended from the rafters watching this one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, guys, we are very much at our time limit. We appreciate everybody hanging on this long. Thanks for watching. Peyton, Sefick, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And we might have to have you back in May when we're reconsidering these rankings.
Let me know. I'd love to be a part of it. Sounds great.
Yeah. It very well could happen. It very well could. So.
All right. Well, we are going to take our viewers over to an interview, a long-awaited interview with Steve Everett, president of USPSA. So see you guys over there.
All right. Well, Steve, you're the USPSA president, a U.S. national team coach, the USA FIFA rep, LA Galaxy player and coach, and probably one or two other things that we forgot while writing this question. How did you come to wear so many hats in the sport, and how do you stay sane and organized while doing it?
Well, I guess you could say that's a great question. I'm a glutton for punishment, first of all, right? Look, I love athletics. It's been a part of my life from, early ages. And but I was always on the outside looking in, watching siblings and cousins and family members be involved. And it wasn't until, in high school where I got the opportunity to go to a wheelchair sports camp that kind of promoted multiple sports. And I kind of dove in head first into the sport of wheelchair tennis. And that kind of opened my eyes to, what could be. And that I could be an athlete just like anybody else if I worked hard and kept focus and those kinds of things. So that started it. Fast forward, after a 21-year tennis career, I took a little hiatus. I was watching my kids grow up and get involved in their sports and the things that they were involved in, and I just wanted to be dad and support that. And, after a few years, my son started playing soccer, and a good friend of ours that played tennis with me, Kelly Wong, he basically said, hey, I want you to come out and take a look at this power soccer thing. It's right up your alley. So that's really how it started. I'm a former high school basketball coach as well. So anytime you get me on the hardwood, it feels like home. It smells like home, sounds like home. So once I entered the gym, it was a no-brainer. I knew right away and took off from there. And a couple years after starting, so that was 2010-11 season, about probably a few months into me playing in my first year, Jonathan Newman, the world famous legend, Jonathan Newman, was the Western Regional Director at the time with the USPSA. and he was his term was coming up, and he had known about my involvement in tennis and wheelchair rugby and some of the other things. So he basically approached me and said, "Hey, we really could use some leadership, and more people in our on our board of directors. Are you interested?" And I said, "Let me think about it." I knew that probably meant, really getting involved, and I was just getting my feet wet with power soccer. But to know me, that I'm the guy that never goes to put my toes in to see how warm the water is. Like, I dive in the deep end and head first, and whatever happens, right? And so sure enough, I agreed, and then I became the Western director, and then did that for multiple years. And then in the presidency came available. That position in I think it was 2021, Jim Labus approached me and said, "Hey, really wish you would consider, really could use, somebody like you in this position." And I really didn't want it. I really, at that point, I was like, I'm really comfortable with the Western director. And so I think it was really interesting. I'm a man of faith, so I prayed about it. And then it was really funny because what ended up happening was we announced that the president's position was open. And the very next day, when it was announced, I got flooded with texts and emails and phone calls and encouraging me to, like, "Why are you not doing this?" And I thought, well, maybe this is, I guess when you get comfortable, sometimes that's a sign, right? And when you're not real comfortable, it's maybe a sign of growing. So it was time to grow. And so that's pretty much how that came. I became the president, and then COVID happened. They said, "Okay, now deal with COVID." So fun. Yeah. This is, it was one of those things.
It's funny you mentioned that, Steve. I think the first time we had a conversation about power soccer, or about like USPSA stuff, it was definitely like fully in lockdown. So like, that's how I remember that transition, was like you kind of taking over right at the like moment of crisis, really.
Yeah. It was a challenge. I mean, it was a challenge for the board too. I mean, nobody wants to shut down a sport, but when the whole world is shutting down, I mean, you have to be, respectful, and you have to think about the athletes and everybody that can be affected. And so if we were going to open up, we wanted to do it the right way. We wanted to do our research. We wanted to make sure it was the right time and it was going to be safe. And we knew there would be a little resistance, a little pushback, but we wanted it to be the right way of doing it. So yeah, it was great. A great opportunity to learn, to grow. Gave us a little opportunity, since there were no games, to kind of come up with some creative ways and of how we could still keep people together, because ultimately, outside of the sport, we're one big family, one big community. We rely on this sport as just like one of the major tools that keep us all connected. So I love it. And when negative things come up, I always try to find a positive way of, like, okay, how do we turn this? How do we change this as an opportunity? So.
Awesome. So Steve, with wearing all of those hats, I mean, is there ever a time where those roles conflict? Is there ever a time where you find yourself representing one group that is at odds with another? Like, how do you handle those situations?
Well, that's a great question. There's always a little conflict that comes up now and then. You try to kind of stay away from those things. But one of the things on the board of directors that we've talked about at length is the conflict of interest. If there is something that we're discussing that really is a conflict for an individual that's on the board of directors, then they abstain from that. A lot of people also don't know that when we discuss things as a board, and I can share this because both Alex and Josh are both the Eastern and Western director, even though they didn't mention that in their interview last week when you guys were doing in the last podcast. Ka-ching, sizzle.
Hey, we didn't want to toot our
said
own
all
horn.
the things they talked about, but they never mentioned that they were on the board of directors. I got it. But anyways, just busting your chops. Anyway, so there are things that we vote on, we discuss, we collaborate, we do all those things, and then the board votes. And what a lot of people probably don't understand is that the president doesn't vote unless there is a tie, and he's the tiebreaker. Now, there's certain things throughout the I guess the role of the president that he makes, decisions on, but very few are done without having a conversation with the board in a group discussion and come to a consensus. So that's how that goes. One of the first things, and I'm glad you asked this question, because one of the first things that was keeping me from really wanting to throw my name in the hat was I didn't want to give up playing. I mean, I'm a competitor, and as long as I can drive the chair and be able to play, and I can kick Josh's butt, I'm good. I want to just keep going. And, in all seriousness, it's one of the great things about our sport is that, you can play at a very high age. And, me only being 25, I still got lots of room to grow, so. But I was worried about that. I was concerned about that because I didn't want to give that up. And, after discussing with multiple individuals and really kind of sitting down, they're like, well, why would you have to give that up? I mean, when you're on the pitch, you're playing, you're an athlete. Okay. I know I had multiple discussions with the referees, and I've said to them, look, ahead of time, this is important. And, great conversations with, Doug Wolf, Mike McCoy, Mark Jones, Jonathan, like these kind of things that are going to come up. I don't want you to treat me any different than you would treat any other athlete. And even if you don't, there's always going to be those competitors I'm playing against, parents in the stands, coaches on the sideline that are always going to look and say, hey, I get a little extra preferential treatment. He's the president. But if I deserve a yellow card, red card, any of that stuff, then give it out. And they assured me that that wouldn't be the case. And I haven't really had any conflict. As a matter of fact, a really funny story was a couple, I think it was not last Nationals, but the Nationals before that. If any of you watched the games between the LA Galaxy and the Sting at the time, it was me and Zach Dickey. And everybody knows Zach. Zach is a great competitor. He's also a guy that likes to get under your skin, and he loves to have fun, and he loves it. And we butted heads, and it got to the point where Doug had to stop the game and pretty much warn us and said, like, you're an elite athlete on the national team. You're one of the coaches on the national team. You are the president of our organization. We're on the show court and everybody's watching. And, you got to set an example, And I said, you're right, Doug. And we both kind of shook. And I said, but in all due respect, I'm not the president right now. he kind of chuckled. Good point. And that was it. So, but yeah, that's what I want. I mean, I get just as hyped up and just as competitive as anybody else that's out there. So, and I didn't want to lose that. I wasn't prepared for that. And so, but yeah, I think wearing multiple hats, there's solutions to those. And I've had to sometimes step away from certain things so that I can put other people in positions to make those decisions because it was in the best interest of the sport. And I think when we put the sport in front of the individual, even when we make all decisions, I always talk about if you take a marker and you highlight the name in black so it covers it and all that, and just look at the circumstance, it's sometimes easier to make a decision based on reading what you see outside of knowing who it is. So that's how I like to move forward. So
I love that answer. And I got to say, you talk about being on the show court and you're the president and setting an example. I will say this, and I've talked about this before. I think it sets a really good example to young players, young disabled athletes, for you to give it that much, for you and Zach to be yapping that much, right? Because you could go out there and you could say, I'm the president and, I'm responsible for X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to take a little bit of that edge off. Even as a coach, sometimes the refs know that I'm yapping because there's a young disabled athlete somewhere watching. And I think it's important for them to understand that this is important. This is competitive. And we give it our all, just like every able-bodied athlete or coach in any of those sports do. So I just want to say, Mr. President, I think that's important, an important example as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Mark Jones one day, he refs a lot of my games and being on the West Coast. And I remember one time, I was really pretty, I was not having a good day, let's just say, or a good game. I was really frustrated with calls and all that. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, I went up to him afterwards and he knew I was hot and he was very direct back at me. And he's one of my favorite humans on the planet. And afterwards I went up to him and said, hey, I know I went a little strong there and, I hope you don't take it personal. He goes, Steve, what you don't understand is I love that. He says, because it constantly reminds me that this isn't a disabled sport. It's a sport. And he says, so I can't say that all other officials feel that way, but for me, he goes, I'm not. I said, well, that means I can give it to you more. He goes, oh no, don't give it to me more. He says, the red card's coming. And we had a good laugh at it. But it's that kind of mentality because we don't want charity work. You want charity work, No. This is not the sport that we want that, So
that's right. I love that.
Mm-hmm. That's great. On January 24th, the U.S. Power Soccer family lost one of its legends. Chris Mulholland helped shape our game as an official, a coach, a parent, and eventually a player. Alex, Bill, and I want to wish our most heartfelt condolences to his wife, Barbara, his son, Kevin, and the rest of Chris's family and friends. Chris influenced each of our paths in the game very directly and very personally, and we cannot thank him enough for that. The Power Soccer community has lost a giant who will never be forgotten.
Like anybody knows.